Alright guys, what's going on? Welcome back. Week 2 of the 360 Sprint Car Series of Season 2 2021 for iRacing. We are here at the Knoxville Raceway in Iowa. And truthfully, my least favorite track, if I'm being completely honest. There are a couple of the small ones that I hate, but this is probably my least favorite half mile. For a lot of reasons. It's just, to me, it just doesn't race well, unless it's completely just blacked off slick. And even then, a lot of times it's you're looking at still like a one lane track most of the time. So yeah, anyhow, going around Knoxville, I couldn't get a very slick track here in the practice, but it's probably not going to get that slick in your official race anyway. So pray for pregen, honestly. That's like the only time I'll say that. That'll be here at Knoxville. And if it doesn't pregen and there's only like 16 cars in your lobby, pray to God you qualify on the pole, because it's going to be follow the leader the whole time. And I'll show you guys a little bit of that here, and what I mean as this track develops. You'll see as we get down in here, a lot of these laps, even in different parts of the track, are just almost identical. So it's a tough track to pass. It's a tough. Let me rephrase that. It's not a tough track to pass. I mean, you could throw sliders, and there's a lot of room to do that. If you've got gaps in the line, but it's so easy for the other person to just cross you over and pull right up alongside you again. So, yeah, be prepared for a lot of slider battles. Be prepared for it to go back down to the bottom. You can see my car here. Once slick gets up to about there, and you can't really, I mean, you can still full throttle around the wall. Even at that point, the bottom will come back in. So, yeah, eventually it will go back down to the bottom if you can keep that left front tied down to the bottom, right on the seam there where that berm comes up. You'll be unbeatable. So, let's show the setup here. We started with Knoxville base and kept the crossweight the same per usual. We dropped the stagger to 11. We're going to leave 1 inch of front stagger this week. No real reason to take it out in my mind. There's no weird lips or weird transitional banking or real tight cornering that you got to worry about really getting the car to spin around. So keep this thing as tight and straight as possible. Setup, I don't expect you'll have to go off this 24 wing at all. In fact, I challenge you guys to stay on the 24 wing. Even if it gets completely black slick, try this thing with just 24 wing and just move the wing back. If you've got to go ridiculously far back, you've got to go ridiculously far back. But I don't see that happening. Knoxville's just it's the super speedway of iRacing Dirt Oval, right? So it's just boring. It's follow the leader and the officials. You can have some really, really good league races here, but yeah, officials are just god awful boring here. Just really, really follow the leader. And even if you catch the leader, we still have mirrors in iRacing Dirt, so they're going to see you coming, and they're going to see what line you're catching them on, and they can just move right over to that line. So a couple things I do want to point out, other than the 24 wing angle, and try to keep it there if you're comfortable enough, is the turns. So this is probably the least amount of turns I've put in a car yet for you guys to see. And there's a few reasons for that. I want to try and keep this thing as close to zero as possible, because it is going to go up to the wall, and it is going to be a slider line, and you're going to have to be landing on that giant mound of cushion that forms if you get a full 22 or 24 car server, whatever it is. So if you get one of those servers, you know, you're going to have to run the top or whatever. You're not going to want this car too low to the ground where you're just grinding on top of that cushion like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, you know. So there's a few things that I want to point out in the rear end here that you might have to adjust yourself. But keeping it closer to 0 is going to be, you know, a good starting point. And that's why I wanted to do it this way and give you guys the setup this way, and then tell you what you need to change if you predict the setup's going to be on the bottom, and if you predict the setup's going to be on the top. Or hell, it might be in the marbles in the middle. You never know with Knoxville. So either way, obviously if it's on the bottom, you're going to want to lower this car a little bit, right? So, you know, take 4 turns here and 4 turns here, and the cross weight will stay the same, obviously. And try this out for running the bottom. If you think it's going to go to the top, you can go 4 turns here and 4 turns here. Was that 5 turns? I think I did 5 turns. And then you're good. And then you try that on the top. The reason I'm pointing that out is because kind of keeping this middle ground here is going to allow you to search during the race. If you got to go to the bottom, the car will be okay there. If you've got to go to the top, you'll be okay there. If you've got to run through the middle, you should be okay there. So kind of keeping the car neutral for you guys this week. That way you can search around if you need to make up ground from the back or whatever. I think it's 21 gallons. I'm pretty sure you could probably even get away with way less than that if you've got to ever go to the bottom. You can see we're barely burning last lap 0.55 around the bottom. So that's barely any fuel at all. Don't risk it is kind of the point I'm trying to get across here. It's 20 or 21 gallons. I'll just put 21 in it to be safe. I think the default had like 22. So I know it's not that much. That's way too much. So 21 to be safe. You'll probably end up with a couple extra gallons depending on what lines you ran. Or you might end up with 4 extra or 5 extra gallons depending on if you're on the bottom the whole time. So just kind of, you know, you can get a lot out of the car if you drop down to 17, right? If you're going to run the bottom, that's enough for the bottom on every single lap. That's a lot of weight out of the car. And if you can take that weight out, you got to start from the back, and you know you're going to be on the bottom the whole time. That's a good little gain you're going to have on the cars in front of you that are going to fuel up for that entire 30 laps, you know, hoping they don't run out kind of thing. But if you know you're going to try and stick the bottom every lap, it's black slick all the way up to the cushion, or pedal it through the middle, you can get away going pretty light on the fuel. So just keep that in mind. Left rear, couple things here also. If you do have to go to the bottom, and it looks like this, where there's not very many cars in the server, and it's still pretty slick or pretty tacky, and you know you've got almost a car width of grip down there, you're going to be pretty tight. So that's why I'm leaving the 24 in there. You might have to go all the way back up on the top wing. You know, you might have to go all the way back forward on the top wing. So something to keep in mind. So I've got this thing nice and tight just in case you got to pedal it through the middle, or you've got to really rip the cushion. I didn't want to keep this thing too loose for you guys, so I've got this left rear and this right rear pretty tight. So if you've got to loosen it up, like the other setups I talked about, you can lower the car with the turns, or you can increase your rebound on this left rear, or you can increase your bump on this right rear. But like I said, you're going to be searching. You're going to be trying to follow the lines where they go. Knoxville's so big and so wide. If you get a pretty decent sized field, the line is going to move around a little bit. So you've got to keep that in mind. I'm sticking with a 542 gear just because it does bog down a little bit when you're running this slider line at Knoxville. So if you go with the default 528, it's going to be really hard for the car to get a lot of drive off the corner again, off the bottom of the track or through that slider line. So you can see here I didn't have to lift at all going through the slick. If it gets a lot darker than this through the slick, you're going to have to lift quite a bit and, you know, keep the car straight. Keep the car under you. Always, always, always at Knoxville, straight as fast. Okay, it's not Lima Land. It's not Fairbury where you need to break the car loose. You can see me trying to cut down line here. I'll go through these laps here in a minute, but I just kind of wanted to give an overview of why I did the things I did in the setup. I'm already 10 minutes into this video, so let me run through these laps here at full speed and kind of just talk through them. You shouldn't really need to hear the car, so I'll turn it down a little bit. Because I'm just wide open the whole time anyway until I go to the bottom. But this slider line, if you got a decent sized field and you're heat race 2, you're going to be follow the leader on this slider line or this cut down line. So 1 and 2 is more of the cut down corner, and 3 and 4 is more of the slider corner. So the reason for that is just kind of it's just did I say that backwards? What did I say? Did I say 1 and 2 is the slider corner? Well, I said 1 and 2 is the cut down corner. So you've got to pay attention to this here. So if you get this full patch through here, and it's really, really wide, if it's even wider than this here, it's either going to be the deep slider line if there's moisture here, you know, where you can land, or it's going to be this, you know, really wide cut down line. Same thing in 1 and 2. If you've got this portion of track, let me go actually back to the beginning laps here, or maybe it's different. So you can see how it splits. The slick goes here and then the slick goes here. You can slide up underneath this and run a really good slider line, or that usually kind of says like, okay, you can run a cut down line too and get back through here and really shoot down through the track. You've got to pay attention to where the slick is forming, because I guess I said one corner is one way and one corner is the other way, but it can be either side of the track. Sometimes 1 and 2 can be the cut down side, or it can be the slider side, and then 3 and 4 can be the slider side, or it can be the cut down side. It just all depends on where the slick is really forming. You've just got to pay attention. You want to keep your car in the most moisture every lap. So if you want to run the slider line, you've got to point through here. If you're coming through here on a slider line, you don't want to be up here, because then you're cutting it way too short. That's way too short of a slider line. You could see all this moisture out ahead of here where you can land, and you're only in it for less than half a second, right? You're boom, and you're right back out of the slick. Get right up through it, straight as can be, perfect through it, kept the car under you, and you'll probably, unfortunately, have to run that line quite a bit. Cut down line, same thing. Try to get through it as quick as possible. I wasn't perfect on all these laps. You've got to cut down pretty sharp if it gets really, really wide. You want to cut down late and get down there really, really sharp. Stay off the berm like that, obviously. And try to, you can be a little bit higher than this even. You can kind of come up through here if you needed to and be through here instead. And then land out here and be good to go. Other than that, you guys can run the top. You know, I have faith in you that you can do that. But here's a decent cut down line in 3 and 4. Cut down, get through there, keeping it straight, drive straight off. Yeah, there's not much to talk about line-wise at Knoxville, especially on a track that's not this, you know, slick enough. 360, it definitely goes back down to the bottom sooner than it does in the 410. The 410's a lot more speed to carry around the outside than these 360s. So you're gonna see some guys who are really, really good this week. Good Australian buddy of mine, Clayton Tilley, one of the first people I ever met on iRacing, because I used to race a lot in the middle of the night when I first joined. He's the master here. Okay, he's gonna win upwards of 90% of his races here this week, and then he's gonna disappear. So he loves Knoxville 360 week. It's just his thing. This is his go-to. This is what he does best, and he's going to show you that time and time again. He's going to get crashed in a heat race this week and have to start 16th on the field, and he's still going to win. So keep that in mind. Follow him. Follow the guys that are good, that are hitting this bottom perfect better than I am. Go back and watch my my Keep It Glued video where I was actually doing a really good job of it. That was probably a couple months ago now, back in a ignition race we were doing with some SSR guys where we were helping them out. And yeah, this car's really, really tight, so it was really tough for me to keep it down there. I thought I had to pull the wing back, and I ended up having to go down to 0 to really get it to work here towards the end of these laps and these last, 3, 4, 5 laps. So you can see how much faster I got once I went to 0 wing. These were on 2, I think, and then I was like, well, maybe 1, and then I went to 0 wing and was a lot better and more comfortable. The car was turning in a lot better and staying turned in throughout the whole lap. So that's not going to be the case in the official. It's going to be slick down there because everybody's going to run their qualifying line down there. Everybody's going to run their heat race down there. You're going to have cars at the back of the field or the front of the field just trying to stay out of harm's way during the feature or the consolation running down here. So it's going to be a lot slicker than this. I just wanted to give you guys a full taste of, the slider lines, the cut down line, the bottom. Try to keep the car underneath the slick on the entry. If the slick gets really low, then you can kind of cut into it. You can kind of cut through the slick to get back down there, but at that point, it's probably going to be through the middle anyway, or you're going to have to hit the bottom just absolutely perfect. But don't be afraid. My whole point to this week is don't be afraid to search. If you're just in a follow the leader line, what's the point of finishing 5th, 4/10 back when you can, maybe lose 1 spot? I know everybody hates like, oh, I lost a spot. That's I rating I could have gained. It's for 5th. Who cares? Go run the top. Try to see if you can catch guys. See if your lap times are better on the top. Run through the middle on the marbles if there's marbles. If there's not marbles, stay away from the middle. Try to catch guys in front of you. Try to nail the bottom. If guys are running the top and you can't catch them up there also, just go search. Knoxville's such a big, boring track. Don't fall into that lull of just, oh my God, this is follow the leader, boring. There's nowhere for me to go. Get out here and search. If there's slick all the way out to here, all the way up to here, and the moisture's this thin and the cushion's up to here on the wall, try to rail that thing. Just try. That's my whole point this week with this thing. If you've got to raise the setup up, go 4 turns on both sides, and you want to try, you haven't had success in the first, say 3 you did, and you're like, man, it was around the top. Raise the rear end of the car up so it's not dragging on the ground up on the cushion, and give yourself some, little bit more comfort on that cushion. You don't know until you try it, right? So don't fall into that whole, oh, if I do this, if I move out of line, I know this is the fast line for me right now. If I move out of line, somebody's going to pass me. Big whoop. You're not going to get any better if you don't go out and try a different line, if you're just following what the leader's doing. Because you never know. The leader might not know what's going on behind him. Another line might have came in. You go out and find that line, and you start gaining on them in front of you. It might be too late, and then you find yourself in 3rd instead of 5th. So, what was else I was going to say? Oh, the Knoxville heat race train. So you can't really... If everybody's bumper to bumper, just don't kill people. You can't throw big bombs when you're trying to slide a guy for 2nd, but the leader is only a car length and a half between him and the guy in 2nd. So if you're in 3rd trying to slide 2nd, chances are you're going to absolutely destroy the leader. And that's why I hate Knoxville. You just can't pass here until it gets really, really slick and guys start making mistakes. So just be patient. As always, be patient. Wait for the track to come in. Pray that you either get a little bit of a pre-gen or you get a decent amount of cars to really slick this thing off. So other than that, good luck as always. I'll put the setup on the forum and in my Discord. I'll put my Discord link and the forum link in the description as always. any other tips or anything that I can think of, I'll let you guys know. Like I said, 542 gear is what I run because I don't like to bog this thing down. 534 is kind of the middle ground, right? You know, if you don't know if you're going to go to the top or the bottom or whatever. 528 just feels too tall for me, even if you're around the top and it's really tacky or if it's really slick. It just feels too tall. So 534 would be the tallest I go, and then 542 is what I'm going to settle on once I'm able to get mine in, probably Sunday morning or something like last week. So last week's setups treated me pretty good. I got a win at Kokomo, kind of gifted that one. The leader spun out on the last lap in turn 4, and I was able to catch him from like 8/10 back, and a good buddy of mine, I felt pretty bad for him that happened, but kind of stole that win. And then ran a 360 Knoxville or Lernerville race and dominated that one. So Sunday morning, I know the strength of field's not that high, but the cars felt really good. So other than that, yeah, good luck as always. If you got questions, then let me know. Just don't be afraid to take risks this week. Knoxville's so boring. Take some risks out there. Try to pass some cars. Don't settle for running 5th or 6th. Get out there and try a different line and see if you can make some passes and, you know, hero it on the top or nail the bottom a few times. So good luck. Have fun as always. And I'll see you guys out there. Take care.